So our project is about deaf culture in the arts, and my main point that I want to get across is that the influence of deaf culture is the center point of deaf art. It is not the sensory situation that goes on in deafness. It's about their culture, and that's kind of what brings them universally together into the deaf art blanket term, I guess. Kind of talks about social beliefs, behaviors, their art, literary traditions, history, values, and shared community influences by deafness, not the actual sensation of deafness. So the first deaf artist that we're going to be talking about is Thad Martin. He's an American sculptor from California. He did not learn ASL until college. He learned ESL when he was a child. He didn't become deaf until he was in the first grade, and his family was huge on advocacy for him and trying to get interpreters, but they didn't necessarily go the full ASL route. So he ended up earning his BFA, or his BA and his MFA in art. He actually dual majored in his BA and got a degree in English and in art, so that's pretty cool. And he wanted to teach art at colleges. That was like his whole purpose of doing art. And his art mainly focuses on figural work relating to, he said he really likes to focus on heads because he can really get the facial expressions, and like expressions is basically his big focal point in his art.
So the second deaf artist that we have is Mark Fisher, and he is considered to be one of the first successful deaf animators. He was born deaf and grew up being inspired by Disney and Warner Brother movies, those animations using closed captions. And he is best known for his work in The Little Mermaid, The Land Before Time, The Swan Princess, and a lot of other Disney and Warner Brother movies. And he graduated from Gallaudet University with a Bachelor in Fine Arts, and he later went on to animate and model ASL for his deaf cartoon named Freddy Fish. He's in the bottom there. And then DeVita, it stands for Deaf View and Image Art. This is a deaf art movement and category of deaf art, and it's supposed to represent the deaf experience. So a lot of the major themes are the use and the beauty of ASL, isolation and community within the general world, and community within the deaf community. And it utilizes the major components like vibrant colors and textures, having a central focus, and there's a lot of emphasis on eyes, hands, and facial features. And these art pieces have become a major source of empowerment for deaf individuals, as they can sort of voice how they feel and some major community values in these art pieces.
Okay, so I talk about some of the theaters. First one we'll talk about is Deaf West Theater. They were founded in Los Angeles in 1991. They mix English and ASL together during shows. They're presented in sign language, and there's a spoken translation of bringing the two cultures together to enjoy the show. They've been nominated for a lot of awards and have received a lot, some that are on the screen. And projects that they are working on is for American Sign Language videos. We don't talk about Bruno, Surface Pressure, I Dare You by Kelly Clarkson, and Singing and Signing Beethoven. The other one is National Theater of the Deaf, founded in 1967, combines sign language with spoken English. They've performed in all 50 states of the US, 33 countries, and 7 continents. And they performed at the White House, Broadway, Disney Channel, and Sesame Street, doing videos on Sesame Street, If You're Happy and You Know It, and the alphabet. And during 2019 and 2021, they did Deafenstein workshops in collaboration with Gallaudet University.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about DPAN. It's a Deaf Professional Arts Network. over on the far right, there's a picture of their album. Have quite a few popular songs on there. I think this might even be on there. We watched this video, Waiting on the World to Change. Okay, so the Deaf Professional Arts Network is dedicated to making music and music culture more accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing communities. Recognizing music is the predominant shared experience worldwide. They are among the first to dedicate themselves to the art of creating high-quality American Sign Language music videos and translating the lyrics of popular songs through ASL. They're actually just founded up in Michigan, 2006, so it's actually a rather new organization. But they are the gold standard for specialized music videos utilizing ASL. It's become a kind of a household name across deaf communities as well. They've attracted millions of viewers on YouTube alone, and have a very big following of deaf and hard of hearing people. They popularized, I can't even speak, the learning of ASL in schools across the country through the use of music and diversity as a shared common experience.
So then we were talking about like cultural appropriation of deaf people in theater and film. So there is a huge disparity of deaf versus hearing actors that are hired, particularly for characters who are deaf canonically in the film. There's like a pretty long list of hearing actors cast as deaf characters on the National Association of the Deaf's list. It's spanning from like 1993 to 2021. A pretty recent example of this is Netflix's movie The Silence, which is basically a knockoff of The Quiet Place, if you ever heard of that. In this movie, the premise basically is just that there's an invasion of blind, echolocating monsters that have caused an apocalypse on Earth. And one of the characters, Ali Andrews, is deaf. The actor who plays this is Kiernan Shipka, who is a hearing actor. And throughout the movie, both her and other characters sign to each other, and it's very butchered ASL. There are made-up signs, grammatical errors. Also in the story, Ali had gone deaf, as they said in the movie, and had only done so 3 years ago, but knew perfectly how to read lips, had learned sign language, and also characters would not sign to her in the movie itself. And again, if they did, it was very butchered. It was overall a very unrealistic representation, made worse by the fact that there were no deaf people involved in the production at all, including the hearing actor. And moving outside of the realm of actors alone, looking at Deaf West Theater, one of the biggest deaf-oriented theater companies in the US, it saw both of its Broadway outings, Big River in 2003, and then 2016 Spring Awakening, led by hearing actors. While this was agreed upon, when hearing directors, like who are not a part of the culture and most often have limited knowledge on the deaf community, direct plays, it often becomes a source of inspiration porn. Basically, the representation of deaf actors becomes skewed to fit into abled views, like if a deaf person can do it, I can, which is very problematic and infantilizing. Also, it gives a sense of pity towards deaf people, especially when the director is called a hero for going up to such a hard task, as if deaf people were a burden and not as skilled as their hearing peers. So what can be done? The most important thing is to call out when this happens in movies, especially since social media is becoming such a big platform for protesting these issues of misrepresentation. Also hiring deaf cast, and not only cast, but crew. If you have a deaf character in the movie, there needs to be multiple deaf people involved, not just the actor. And I think that's all we got.
Excellent.